Hi there, I'm Michelle Pethley with Shelley's Wreaths and More, and I'm here today to make Trendy Trees subscription box Welcome Autumn Kit. The kit comes with the wreath frame, these two meshes, these 3 ribbons, as well as a sign that says, Welcome Autumn. All right, now I've already prepared our sign. I've put pipe cleaners in the corners with staples, and then I've just put hot glue over the staples as extra security. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you a method today using kind of like well, I guess they call it a woodland ruffle. It's not a cruffle, but it's a ruffle. And I'm going to show you that today using this work frame and these 2 wreaths. So let me get started. I have cut my mesh between 19 and 20 inches. That gave us 18 cuts in each of the meshes. And what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to fold the mesh, bring this one end to the middle, and then slightly overlap it with the next end. Okay, so it looks like a package like that. Now we're going to scrunch right up the middle. All right, we're going to use a clip and hold it together in the middle. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing with the other mesh. We're going to fold it into the middle, kind of create a package with it. This, by the way, is very, very touchy mesh, but we're going to make it work. Then we're going to scrunch it right up the middle. All right, we want this end turned over, facing down. So we're going to take both of these and put one on top of the other, take the clip off, and put both of these into the tie and tie as tightly as you can. All right. Now, all of these ends will be tucked in because when we put the next set of mesh in this tie, it'll push it together. You'll see, they'll butt up against each other. So let's just keep doing this. We're always going to put the rust and white color one on the top. So when we fold, let's fold the green one first. Fold it into the middle, then into the middle again, and try as best you can to line it up, because then that will keep the edges from fraying. Let's scrunch it down the middle, and then put the clip on it. All right, let's do the same thing with the next one. I'm going to roll up my sleeves because this mesh catches everything. It's going to make me say some wordy dirties, dirty wordies in there too, because it is very temperamental. You'll see it kind of catches on itself and shreds itself, but okay, just line them up. Now scrunch up the middle. We want this side down, and we're going to put it right on top of the green. Grab the green, take off the clip, put it in the next tie. Okay, and then you'll see that these kind of butt up next to each other. All right, let's do the next one. Fold it in half. It's not really in half, it's folding in quarters, I guess. But in any case, just fold it over itself and scrunch up the middle. Forms a bow tie. And let's do it with the next one. Fold it across itself. Okay. And scrunch up the middle. Remember to turn it over. And grab, put it on top of the green. Grab the two of them together. And then put them into the next tie. And butt them up to each other. I'm going to work with it a little bit. There we go. I chose this method because first I haven't taught you this method before, and also it gives you a lot of waves, and it's an interesting look on the mesh has an interesting look on the frame. So I thought, since this is a fall theme and we're using leaves, or we can use leaves, these kind of reminded me, just kind of a pile of leaves. And you'll see what I mean when it's all done. You just have to have patience with this mesh. Okay, if you're going to stick to yourself, then you're going to stay there. I think this mesh will have everybody talking to themselves. That's for sure. Okay, let's just scrunch it up. Turn it over. Grab the green. Take away the clip. And press it in there. Okay. I'll do one more on camera, then I'll turn off the camera and finish it up. That'll save you having to watch this repeatedly, certainly 18 times. I'll come back after I finish the bottom row, and I'll show you what the wreath looks like at that point, and then we'll start the top row using the same technique. Just scrunch this up the middle. Do the same to this problem child. I've had this happen before where I find a very pretty mesh until you start working with it. Then you're like, well, and you know, I forget to mark the rolls that I don't like. I mean, they look beautiful. They're just really very difficult to work with because of their construction. But I always forget to mark my mesh, you know, with a big do not use, or use a certain technique with it. Sometimes, okay, so you can turn it over, push them together, and stick them in. Alrighty, we just fluff them up so that they butt up next to each other, they're neighbors. All right, I'm going to stop here and come back when I've got the rest of the first rail done. I'm going to tell you, I have to admit it, I did more than just the bottom row. I'm finishing up the last one on the top row right now. I'm going to just show it to you one more time how to do it. I was just getting so frustrated with this white and orange mesh that I thought it would be safer if I didn't do it all on camera because it definitely wouldn't have gotten a PG rating. Okay, so we just folded that green one. See, I've got a little bit of a thread here. I'm going to clip that off. Fold it in half or fold it in the back. Like a quarter of the way. Then fold the other side over that. All right, now we're going to scrunch right down the middle. All right. Now we're going to turn it over and put it onto the green one. Take off the clip and celebrate because this is the last one we're doing for this wreath. Now just put it in the twist tie, push down, and twist it as tight as you can, and then just butt up the ones next to it so that they're standing up and not covering up the So you see, it does make the technique makes a very, very pretty wreath. I think it's lots of waves and curls. So there we have it. Now it's time to put on the ribbon tails. All right. I can probably spend hours trying to get that. All right, now the ribbon tails. Your kit comes with three. Comes with this pumpkin. Comes with this kind of tie-dye. And it comes with this orange. Now I put the orange and the pumpkin together. And then for this one, I'm bringing in a natural and white cabana stripe ribbon. Okay, so that's how they're going to be on the wreath. Now, I've already cut them. I cut my ribbon tails to 13 inches. And I just wanted to show you how to dovetail. So after the ribbon is cut to 13 inches, you're just going to fold it. Okay, here's the crease. You're going to cut from the fold or the crease up to the point. And it gives you the dovetail. So just fold it again. Cut from the crease or the fold up to the point. And there you go. You have a dovetail. You see that? Probably be able to see it better with this blue one. So fold it again. Cut up to the point. That dovetail. Okay, now this pumpkin ribbon is one directional. You'll see the pumpkins all are facing the same direction. So we don't have to worry about that when we're putting in the ribbon tails. However, when it comes to making the bow, we are going to have to pay attention to that direction. Okay, so let's take our ribbon tails. I've cut 8 of each set, okay, because I only put 6 on the top. I leave room for my bow. All right, so now we're going to just take the two together, lay them on top of each other, fold it in half to find the middle, and then just scrunch it up the middle. All right. I always punch out the little divots down there. And I'm going to open up my twist ties to put this in the... Let's push it down into the center of that twist tie. Twist it away. And you can twist it nice and tight because we're not going to put anything more in those twist ties. Now just push out the dimples. And there you have it. Here's our first one. Okay, Now we're going to take the beige packet, do the same thing. Line them up, fold them in half to find the middle, and then scrunch up the middle. Push out the divots. Okay, then I'm opening up my tie, pushing this into the tie, pressing down, and then twisting as tightly as I can. Push out your divots again. And I think with this, I'm going to separate the ribbons. I wasn't going to originally, but I think I am going to now. Just separate them out a little bit. Mainly because this mesh, the orange mesh, is going to show a lot of frays if we can kind of cover them up with this ribbon. So that's what I've done. I've just kind of opened up the ribbons. You can see I've just separated them a little bit so that you see 4 ribbons instead of just 2 laying on top of each other. All right, I've done the same with the beige. All right. See how that, you see the tie-dyed and then the stripe. Okay, let's do another one. Now this is where I say make sure the pumpkins are always going the same way when you're putting in your ties. And if you have them laying that way, you won't have any issues. Okay, punch out the divots. Okay, open up the tie. You don't have to open up your ties if you don't want to. I just like to do it because it keeps everything really close to the frame. Okay, and then we're separating our ribbons to give us just a little bit more coverage on that mesh. All right, I'm going to finish the bottom row and I'll come back to you when I have the bottom row done, and this time I will definitely do that. Back, you can see that I've gotten the ribbon tails all the way around the bottom. Now we just have to put the top ones. It's the same process, nothing different, just fold them up and so we can find the halfway point and scrunch. I'm always making sure that my pumpkins are going the same direction as all the ones that I've put in before. Just tighten that up and separate them. Fan them out a bit. There we go. Cover up that wayward mesh. I'm going to take this with the beige packet. Now, I think I've explained that I only put 6 out of 8 on here, and the reason is I always make a fairly large bow, and I don't want to spend the time or the money on the supplies to put 2 ribbon tails underneath that bow. Seems like a waste. You don't see what's underneath that bow, and they only end up causing you trouble because sometimes the tails are sticking out someplace you don't want them to stick out. So that's why on the top rail, even though that there are 8 ties, I only put ribbon tails in 6. The remaining 2 without ribbon tails, I call my bow zone, and I'll put my bow there and cover up the fact that there are no ribbon tails in those ties. Okay, again, I'm just opening up my ties, pushing them down, and then just separating these out, spreading them, and pushing out the dimples so that they kind of have an arch on the ribbon themselves. Okay, just a few more. Then we can go on to making our bow and embellishing the wreath. Now, I've chosen to, I found in my stash of all my supplies, I found some foliage, fall foliage that I thought we'd put in around the bow. And then also I have a scarecrow. Since we have a scarecrow on the sign, I thought it would be nice to have a scarecrow. So we'll see how it lays out, see if I can make it fit. And if it does, then we'll put the scarecrow in. And I'm going to try to have him holding the sign. I don't know, that might work. If it doesn't, we will just adapt. Pivot and adapt, but for now, I'm thinking that it will. We just have 2 more. We're done with ribbon tails. Let's spread them out. Just fan them and push the dimples. Push the dimples out to give the tails kind of an arch. Okay, and last one. All right. All right, there we have it. Ribbon tails are in. You can see that this is the bow zone because there's no ribbon tails there. All right, what I'd like to do here is my, say hello. This is the scarecrow that I'm going to try to put in this wreath. And I thought what I'd do is I'd have him opposite the bow zone. So maybe up here. And having the sign, well, that won't work because there's a scarecrow on the sign. I don't want to cover up that. Let's see, maybe let's put the bow up at the top. Let's say the bow is going to be at 11 o'clock. How's that? And then we can have the sign and the scarecrow. Maybe the scarecrow sitting on the sign. Well, that won't work because he'll cover himself up. Okay. Let's make the bow, and then we'll have all 3 of the items that we need to manipulate. I'll take and put this on the side, and we'll make the bow real quick. Okay, I use a bow maker. All right. And we're definitely going to use the ribbons that came in the kit and that we've used on ribbon tails. All right. We're going to add in a few other colors. Those are the 4 that have come with that we've used for the ribbon tails. Now I really would like to bring out the gold. See the scarecrow's shirt? Let's see if I can get it from the glare. Okay, see the gold or yellow in his shirt? So I thought maybe I would use this ribbon that has that color in it. And I like this ribbon. It's got sparkle in it, just like the glitter on the sign. So we'll use that one, and then we'll top it off with this small D. Stevens ribbon that actually, to me, looks like fall and scarecrow. It's a frayed edge burlap. So I think that would make a very nice bow. And we're starting with the beige and ending with the beige. So the color from the bottom will be brought through to the top. Okay? That's the way I was thinking about it. Let's see how it turns out. Okay. Okay, the first thing is we're going to put down a pipe cleaner in the middle of the two rods, and we're going to build our bow on top of that. All right, I'm going to start here. I'm going to have about an 8-inch tail, maybe a 10-inch tail. So let's twist. This is 8 inches from here to there, so another 2 inches gives us our bow. We're going to put it in, and then twist. We're twisting because we want the bad side or the wrong side of the ribbon to be on the inside of the loop. All right, so let's come out to a 7-inch loop, twist, and let's do another 7-inch loop over on this side. And this is our final tail, but we don't need to twist it because we'll just compress it because we want the right side of the ribbon to face up, and if we twist it, it would be the wrong side. So let's dovetail that, push that to the top, let's dovetail the bottom one. There you go. And that ribbon is done. I always work from largest to smallest ribbons, so now I'll use my 2.5-inch ribbons first in this case. All right, now, this is going to be tricky. This ribbon is directional, so we're going to pivot real quick. I'm going to put in one other 2.5-inch ribbon. I'm going to put in this orange here. Going to put the tail up on the top, twist, and going to go slightly less than the 7 inches. Twist. Let's bring this one out just the same amount, just a little bit less than this loop here, and then we're just going to compress it. All right? And what we're doing now, you'll see, I'm going to dovetail this real quick, is we're going to form X's with our loops and tails. All right? So here's our first tail and the first loop. We'll pull those up, going upward. And then this is our second loop and our second tail, and it's forming the X. All right? So let's go back to that pumpkin ribbon now. And the reason I wanted to is because the pumpkins are going up, so I wanted the tail to start on the bottom half. So I didn't have to manipulate this ribbon too much. But, okay, we're going to make the X again with our ribbon tails. We're going to twist. Okay. And make a loop that's slightly less than that loop and twist. Okay. Make another loop, compress, and then cut. Now I'll show you. Okay. I'm going to turn this just so you can see what I'm talking about. See how the pumpkins are all facing up on this ribbon and this ribbon, all right? But we have now pumpkins going this way on this loop and this way on this loop. So the way to correct that is you're just going to take the whole loop, give it a real solid twist, Now you have pumpkins going in the correct direction on all four, the two loops and the two tails. Okay? It's pretty easy if you just remember to do the twist. All right. And we still go back to the X where we have the loop and the tails making an X. All right. Now I think we're going to use the orange. All right. We're going to dovetail it. And start up at the top part of the X and twist it. And then come in just a little bit less than the loop before it. Twist, make another loop, and compress. Okay, we're going to dovetail the end. All right. Now, we'll use our cabana stripe ribbon. This one is going to start on the bottom. Twist it. Twist it again. Compress it and then cut. All right, and again, we're making the X. I'm just tightening it up. There we go. That ribbon is done. Now we're going to use this ribbon here. Ties out with his shirt on the sign. I'm going to start on the top part. And that's the other thing, that I rotate where I start with my loop, with my tail, I'm sorry. Like, for instance, this one is starting on the top. And I want that loop just a little bit bigger. There we go. And you see that then the tail ends up on the bottom. All right. Now the next ribbon, I'm going to start with the tail on the bottom. All right, twist. Twist. Then just compress it. And this tail will end up on the upper when we do our X. All right. So you'll be able to see all of these ribbons when we fluff the bow. Okay, now our last ribbon is the one that ties this one together, pulls the beige from the back to the front, as well as gives us that scarecrow feel. Well, this is a very heavy wire ribbon. It's a beautiful ribbon to work with. And I'm just cutting this one on an angle. I'm not going to try to dovetail that one. Okay, so our bow is done. Let me just roll up the ribbon, throw away the corners, And then I'll use a zip tie to take this off of the bow maker. Okay. Okay, I'm using a zip tie. I'm going to slide it underneath the bow and catch, even go underneath that pipe cleaner that we put there to begin with. Then I tighten it around, give it a little crank, and then pull my bow up. Now, I don't take the bow off yet. I still use that zip tie to compress all the layers together for me before I take off that. And then I just fit this zip tie into the trench or the well that is made by these two pegs. All right, and then you just hold it and tighten it. And there you go. We're just going to cut off the back part of the zip tie. Here we go. And now let's just fluff. Okay. Now, if you remember, the beige ribbon was the first ribbon that I used. So I'm going to keep that in line here and just pull the tail up. Okay. Then I'm going to separate out the orange tail and the orange loop, and then the pumpkin tail and loop. Then after that we use the orange, solid orange ribbon, so we'll pull that one this way and pull the tail up that way. And then I use the cabana stripe, so the tail is down here, and then that's up there, the loop. And then the next one is the one with the rickrack in it. Then the plaid. Where's the plaid's tail? Okay. Oh, there it is, right in front of me. And finally, the burlap. Okay, so now just fluff up the loops. Give them all a little bit of a fluffing. And there you have it. That's one half of the bow fluffed. Let's do the other half real quick. It's the same process. We're going to take the, let's see that I made one miscalculation here. This tie, there you go. This tail should be down because this tail is up actually. All right. Then we'll use the orange leafy one. And finally the pumpkin, 2.5-inch ribbon. Separate the tails and the loop. And then we use the solid orange. And if you can see, I'm just pulling. If I pull the loop down here on this ribbon, the next ribbon's loop should be up here. So we're just alternating that. And then the next one is the cabana. All right. The next one is the rickrack. Then the plaid. And then the burlap, the frayed burlap. Okay, so now we're just going to fluff the ribbons on this side, give the loops some life. And there we go. Just kind of curl these down. And we have our ribbon. And there it is. Okay. Okay. So I've decided that I'm going to put the sign across my scarecrow's lap. I did want to show you that on the back, I've just taken a sharp, actually my scissors, gone through the back of the scarecrow, and then threaded a pipe cleaner through. Again, I've secured it with a little bit of glue to keep it from coming out. Now, I'm going to lay him here, and I'm going to put him on the very far side of the wreath, away from the bow zone. Okay. And we're just going to be feeding these pipe cleaners through the mesh. And the most important thing is to, when you get it to the back of the wreath, you want to thread it around one of the rails of the wreath. It gives it more stability. You don't want your bow just fastened to the mesh. So when you feed it through the mesh, make sure that as you're tying it off, it's being pulled and wrapped. Then the pipe cleaners will be around a wire, the part of the wire frame, okay? It gives it some stability. Now I'm only putting one pipe cleaner in my scarecrow, only because the sign is going to lay across his lap. Let me make sure my ribbon tails are good before I move on to the next step. Okay. Now, I'm going to take the sign, make it look like he's holding the sign. Okay. And then I'll put the bow up in the bow zone. So let's fasten our wreath, fasten the sign to the wreath. We're using the same process as we just did with the scarecrow. We're going to make sure that when we feed it through, we're feeding it through mesh, as well as wrapping it around the wire frame underneath. This takes a little time to feed it through. And what I usually do is I do corner to corner, meaning like I'll do this corner first, this corner up here. Let me tighten this one down, make sure it's going around the wreath frame. There. And you can see when it goes around the wreath frame, let me see if I like this, the way the tails are. Okay. Okay, then I'll just tie it off. We don't want it too loose, but we don't want it too tight either. We want the scarecrow to look like he's comfortable holding this frame, this picture, but there we go. Now, I did this corner, now I'm going to do this corner. So you can see I'm going cross and doing the corners across from each other. Feed it through again. Also, you know, when you feed it through the mesh, it kind of hides your pipe cleaners. Let's make sure that this tail comes out. All I'm doing is pulling the tail out before I put the other pipe cleaner through. Okay. That mesh is still giving me trouble. I think he's still trying to get me to use a dirty wordy. Okay, now we're just gonna meet underneath and make sure that we catch the wreath frame. Okay, now let's work on this corner here. This one we can feed kind of backwards to the wreath. And then just tie it off. There we go. And then our last one is this one here, and we're going to pull it all the way to the bow zone, because that way it's going to keep the wreath the sign level, and you won't see any of the pipe cleaners because the bow will cover that up. But this way, kind of pulls it together, see? There we go. I'm going to take a little glue and glue his hands to the sign. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay, the last thing we have to do is put on our bow. And here it is. Now remember, we had some longer tails and the shorter tails go on top, so the longer tails are going to come down like this. And just slightly overlap the sign, not cover up the sign, but just slightly overlap it. Gives it a little dimension that way. All right, let's feed this through the mesh, catching the frame. And pull it tight. And there you have it. Okay. All that we need to do is kind of just fluff the bow again. Make sure the tails are all down. If you don't like the length of your tails, like this plaid tail is kind of bothering me, I'm going to just shorten it up just a bit and then give it a little curl. I think the rest of them are all pretty good. They blend in well with everything else around it. And we might just shorten up this one though. Make him stick up a little bit higher. There we go. I was a little frisky on the plaid on both sides, I guess. All right, there you have it. This is the Welcome Autumn Wreath Kit from Trendy. Thank you for spending time with me.